Alright, so now we have our sacred weapon. So what do we do? Well, first we have to respec to Ice Shards again. So we are going to run that build here named World Tier 3 Dungeons. It's very similar to the build you've been using to clear the Capstone Dungeon. Let me just highlight what has changed, where actually it's the same build except you put 2 points in Align the Element and 3 points in Important Warding. And I think that's about it. Or maybe there's a few more points. Well, I don't think so, actually. So yeah, 41 plus 5, that's 46. Well, there must be a few more points. I'm not too sure. Well, anyway, that's what you're going to run in order to continue leveling. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to now clear 2 more dungeons in order to farm 2 aspects. That's 2 dungeons you didn't want to clear during your level 1 to level 15 run because they are guarded in a stronghold. So you have to clear the stronghold first and then clear those 2 dungeons to claim the aspects. And then you're going to do 2 dungeons, the Whisper dungeons, allowing you to collect your first cash. That's gonna give you your first Nightmare Dungeon key of tier 1. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so while we make our way to the first 2 strongholds that we're going to clear in order to claim those aspects, let me give you a few more information. So during those domain tunnels runs, okay, everything that you looted has to be treated differently than what you did before. Now, with the new item loot system in place in Season 2, you're not going to see as many rare items in World Tier 3. For instance, those pair of boots here, I would normally not loot them in World Tier 3 because they are not sacred. Instead, I would get veil crystals directly that I can just collect by walking on it. Okay, so that changes a few things. You're going to have access to a lot more veil crystals, so you don't need to salvage your yellow items anymore. Okay, from this stage, the moment you enter World Tier 3, you will just sell everything. Well, I mean, you will still salvage legendaries, okay? But anything below legendary, you will sell it for gold, okay? You don't need to bother that much. If you want to play it conservative, I would advise to wait until, like, to continue salvaging rare items until you get 100 veil crystals in bank, and then you sell everything, okay? You only keep like the legendaries that you really need for this leveling build, and you salvage everything else because you really need the legendary materials. So wait to get 100 veil crystal in the bank, then sell. You shouldn't see white and blue anymore, but if you do sell them, sell yellows, keep the legendaries that are needed for this specific Ice Shard leveling build all the way to 100 and salvage everything else, okay? Because you really do need the extra material, legendary material. So that's how you manage gold and materials. Now, so we're back to clearing Onyx Watchtower. That's the first stronghold. We're doing that because we want to have access to the Onyx Hold dungeon. This Onyx Hold dungeon is going to give us the Storm Swell aspect, legendary aspect. The one that says you deal 21% with the lower value, of course, multiplicative damage to vulnerable enemies while you have a barrier, which is a perfect fit for that build. And guess what? We are going to imprint it on our 2-hand sacred staff, because after those 4 dungeon runs, we're gonna keep and of course equip the best sacred staff we find. I didn't find any upgrade on my run here, but if you do, equip it, and then that staff that you're going to keep until you transition to World Tier 4, you're going to imprint this aspect that you will get from the Onyx Hold. If you do happen to find a better 2-handed staff before you enter World Tier 4. And if you do have the resources, mostly the weapon legendary material, if you do have enough to imprint again, I think it costs 12 or 10 of those materials, do it. But otherwise you're going to stick, no pun intended, you're going to stick to that stuff until you transition to World Tier 4. So here I'm clearing the stronghold. By the way, enemies are level 47 because they are based on the stronghold maximum level. So that should be a breeze. Remember, you just run over and over dungeons where enemies were 55. So this should be a lot easier. Okay, so kill the boss, claim the stronghold, and then enter the dungeon here, Onyx Hold. Be careful here, enemies are 55 again. So just play the same way that you played before. So you want to clear that dungeon, collect the aspects, and then you're going to move to the next stronghold, which is Quara Yisu. And this dungeon, this stronghold will give you access to the Pallid Delve dungeon, where you will be able to claim the Elementalist legendary aspect, which is going to give you an amulet, 30% increase, that's the lowest value, critical strike chance when you have more than 100 mana when you cast spells, okay? You're not going to use that one like right now, but you'll use it later in World Tier 4 when you, or maybe during the transition to World Tier 3 to World Tier 4, when you're going to have max mana rolls on your helm and on your rings, and when you're going to have access to max mana nodes on the Paragon tree. That's the time when you want to put that aspect on your amulet instead of the aspect of control. Why are we doing that? During Season 1, I made a mistake, I think. I was running a similar Ice Shards build, but I relied way too much on crowd control to do my damage. The thing is, for bosses, the Butcher, and structures, well, structures cannot be crowd control. For the Butcher, it takes a lot of time to stagger him, and for the bosses, it's not the optimal way, I think, to clear dungeons, like to kill bosses fast. I think this season, I'm not going to go with a crowd control dependent multipliers, and instead I'm gonna go for the good old critical strike damage. That's how I'm going to scale the damage, and I think it's going to be a lot faster to reach level 100 this way. I learned from what I did during Season 1, and I'm not going to do it again in Season 2. Okay, so that's why I included that part in the leveling this time around. So as we clear this second stronghold of level 45 to 47, we get access to this dungeon here, and we're going to clear it to get the aforementioned legendary aspects. Now, what do we do after that? We're going to run 2 more dungeons. Whisper dungeons. So here you see me looking at all the different options for those whisper dungeons, and I'm going to pick the least worst because you don't have a lot of choice, and some of them have terrible layout, trust me. Now, if you're very lucky, you might get Onyx Hold and Pallid Delve as whisper dungeons. If that's the case, play the lottery and send me some money if you do win. And if you do, you're pretty likely to find a Shaco the first time you're going to kill Duriel. Anyway, so back to what we're doing. I'm going to clear those 2 dungeons, this one and that one, and I'm going to get, like, to silence 2 whispers in order to get my first cache at the Tree of Whisper. That's why we're doing that. Inside that cache, there will be your first Nightmare Dungeon key, a tier 1 key, that's going to rock on the World Tier 3 to World Tier 4 transition. Okay, so let me quickly finish that. We're killing the boss. We are silencing this Whisper. That's 10. And we're going to the Tree of Whisper to collect our cache. And this is 4 hours and 55 minutes into season start. I try to be as close as possible to a real season start on season 2. And if you're a good player, I think you can achieve that. You can beat my time and achieve a 4 hours and a half to go to your first nightmare dungeons in World Tier 3 difficulty. This is big, friends. 4 hours and a half is a very, very good time on a real season start with a naked character to reach around level 50 and enter your first nightmare dungeon. This is as good as it gets. I put up all the knowledge I have and made this optimized leveling route. I suggest you run it. And by the way, if you do beat my time, please let me know in the comments. I'll be very happy to read that. If I don't know, if you made 4 hours and 25, just let me know in the comments. I'll be very happy to read that. I'll be proud of you and I'll be proud of me for making up that leveling route that's very efficient, friends. Okay, now what's next? Well, congratulations. You have fully assembled the complete build to transition from World Tier 3 to World Tier 4, okay? Now, you're going to imprint, from those 4 dungeons, take your best sacred two-handed staff, equip it, and then imprint the, what's the name of it? The one that deals 21% increased damage to vulnerable while you have a barrier on your staff. It's going to turn this 21 to 42. That's a big multiplier, times 22% damage. And now this is the final build. All those pieces is what you're going to keep until you find upgrades on your gear. You're going to re-imprint over and over the Storm Swell on your staff, the Piercing Cold on your gloves, Disobedience, Might, Snow Guard, Control until you change it to Elementalist, Efficiency, and Prodigy. Those are all the aspects that you're going to reimprint over and over as you upgrade your gear from what it is now to Sacred, then Sacred to Ancestral, and then Ancestral to Ancestral with good rolls. You're going to keep that setup. That's the best way, the best build to rush level 100. I tried many different things. You can name any other build. It is not as good as this one. Or, I mean, maybe you're super lucky and you loot an endgame build, but realistically that's not gonna happen and you want to rock that build. I think you're going to reach level 100 from 15 to 20 to 25 to 30 hours, something like that. So I'm gonna race during season 2. I'm gonna run that exact build guide, okay? And I'm not the best player in the world, so I'm just racing for fun. If I make it to the top 50, I'll be happy. Now, if you guys use that and made it to the top 10 or top 20, let me know. I'll be very happy, okay? Because this is exactly what I'm going to run. I'm not hiding it and keeping it for myself. I'm sharing it to everyone that loves the Sorcerer class, just like I do, and wants to start Season 2 as a Sorcerer. The build diversity in Season 2 is going to be very, very high. It's going to be really nice to try a lot of different builds on the Sorcerer. And trust me, I'm going to try a lot and make a lot of build guides. Anyway, back to the topic. Now, once you imprint your stuff, you're going to open your first key. That's a tier 1 key, okay? You're going to run this first dungeon. You're going to loot maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 keys. Out of those 3 keys, you run, the next one you're going to run is the one of the highest level. Say you loot a level 1, a level 2, and a level 4. Run the level 4, even if it has shitty or difficult affixes, okay? Run it, you're going to clear it. This build is very strong. And I want you to climb the keys until you get a level gap of plus 15, or like between 13 to 15 between you and the monsters. This build can do that, okay? As you climb the keys, you're going to upgrade your gear. Same aspects, but of course, sacred quality of the rare on which you imprint. And possibly sacred quality with decent rolls, okay? And once you do that and you are farming keys that are plus 15 levels, you're going to complete every key until you find a godly key. What's a godly key? Well, that's one of the maps that has a layout that yields a lot of experience. You'll recognize one when you see one. Or you can use the, let me get that for you. Rax has made an initial tier list for all the dungeons. Sirocco Caverns is not available in World Tier 3, by the way. Like some dungeons are only available in World Tier 3, and all of them are available in World Tier 4. No surprise, the best one is going to be Sirocco Caverns. Now for the next S tier dungeons, this initial list is interesting, but it has to be revisited. Why? Because this list has been established on non-nightmare version of those dungeons. When those dungeons will become nightmare, the density will increase. So it might, redistribute the cards. I'm not too sure, but I think it might change a little bit, or maybe it won't change at all. But I think this tier list might be impacted. So just stay tuned for when Rax publishes another tier list. But I don't think it's going to happen before season starts. So I recommend you do reset the keys that you think is godly. Like, you will recognize one when you see one, trust me. A key with good affixes, and then when you run it, you're like, wow, it's smooth, and then you see the experience running very fast, then that's the one you want to reset. Okay, how does it work? How do you reset your dungeons? Now that they remove that trick you could do in a party when you change the leadership. Okay, when you do a dungeon, let's say you have a Sirocco Cavern and you're in World Tier 4. You will do 90% of the dungeon. You will do everything except killing the boss. I don't remember if Sirocco Caverns has a boss, but let's say it has. You do everything, but you don't kill the boss, which, by the way, is the slowest part and the less rewardful part of the dungeon. You do everything. You exit the dungeon by typing E and then exiting the dungeon. You don't teleport out. You don't want to leave any teleport inside the dungeon. You just exit the dungeon. And then 2.5 minutes after you do that, the dungeon is going to reset and you can run it again. Okay? So the godly keys, that's what you want to do. You have a good one, clear most of it, exit the dungeon, wait for 2.5 minutes, re-enter the dungeon, clear it again, and on and on and on. That's why you want to be 15 levels. You want the monsters to be 15 levels ahead of you, because when this happens, you want to run this key for at least 10 levels. From 15 to 10, you will be maxed out on XP gain at 15% plus additional, like the base experience monster grant you when they die. So you're topped on that, okay, until the gap is 10. And from 10, 9, 5, etc., it decreases. So 2 things here. I recommend you do it from 15 to maybe 5. And at 5, all those keys that you have found while you were resetting this dungeon, you just salvage them and you open a new key that's going to be plus 15 levels from where you stand. And then you can have another, let's say, crappy key. You run it, you clear it, you get another one, crappy, okay, another Sirocco Cavern of this new plus 15. Because maybe you were 75 when you started doing that, you went up to 85, then from 85 to 87, it was only crappy keys, and then 87, you get a Sirocco Cavern that's plus 15, so that's, it scaled up more than 100, so that's 102. And that's your new key that you're going to do during the next 10 levels. That's what you want to do. This is how you're going to optimize your XP gains. Now, 2 things here. Is this possible? Yes, because this build that I made is really the best build you can have. You can clear plus 15 dungeons, no problemo, okay? This is very strong and I tested it. And you're going to scale your damage with the Paragons. We're going to touch that in a minute, but you're really going to scale your damage to the moon, okay? This is what will allow you to keep up with increasing monster level. Well, level gap is going to be the same, but like increasing difficulty. This is how you're going to scale your damage. Second thing, what are you going to do during those 2 minutes and a half? Well, you're going to do Vampire Tides. Well, that's the Vampiric Hell Tides. I'm not sure how it's called. You could do either Hell Tides if they're up, or Vampiric Tides if they are up, okay? Because during those 2 minutes and a half, you exit the dungeon, you teleport to an area where this Vampire Tide is going on, and you do an event. An event will take between 1 minute and a half to 2 minutes. So the remaining minutes is just travel time. You TP to a town, you walk to an outside event, you clear it, you claim the rewards, materials, herbs, legendaries, powers, vampiric powers and stuff, okay? And you get back to your dungeon, and you do your dungeon, exit it, and over. This is what will allow you, that's the best of both worlds. Your ranking XP like there's no tomorrow, it's gonna be huge. And during the downtime, where you have to wait anyway, you can sort your inventory, look for upgrades, or when you don't have to do that, just go for these outside world events, either Hell Tides or Vampiric ones, whichever you prefer. And this, my friends, is how you're going to go as fast as possible to level 100. Alright, so before I end this video, let me just give you all the intel you need to reach to 100. So, last we discussed you were level 47 and you were doing your first World Tier 3 keys and climbing to plus 15 gap. Now, you're gonna reach level 50 in no time, and once you reach level 50, you have access to, is it 24 or 25 Paragon points that you get from the Renown. Those first 24 points will get you here all the way. You don't have any glyph, you just have the blue one, so get this one, Wisdom, here. Take this path, and it will take you exactly here. Those are the 3 Paragon points that you're going to take. Now, how do you spend your next points? 4 points is 1 level. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's level 51. 1, 2, 3, 4, 52. 1, 2, 3, 4, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, and 59. 59, you will reach the reservoir node. And on the way, you've been taking damage nodes, okay? Because you're chilling enemies, and you're getting non-physical damage and damage to chilled enemies a lot. You're going to get this, you unlock the glyph socket, and once you loot Frostbite, just put it there. That's the first glyph you're going to level up, Frostbite. Or if you don't loot it and you loot Flame Feeder or any of the other ones, just put a few points in the first one you loot, and then the first one you level to 15 is this one, Frostbite, okay? Then you go here. Why do we rush this board here? Elemental Summoner and those nodes. Because maximum mana, that's 4, 8, 12, plus 8, 20, plus at some point 28. 28 plus, if you're lucky, well, just have an eye out for max mana rolls on your helm and on your rings, okay? And once you reach here, that's the time you change from the control aspect on your amulets to the Elementalist amulet, because this setup here with Prodigy, Efficiency, Blizzard, that's reducing your mana costs of core skills by 20%, plus eventually you will have mana cost reduction on your boots and on your amulets. You'll be able to benefit from those from this critical strike chance, and it's going to really scale your damage very well into level 100. That's what you want to do. Once you reach here, imprint this. It's only gonna get better from now on, okay? Next, we said level 59. 59, 60, 61, 62. This node has been changed. It's not that anymore. In Season 2, it's a different one, okay? Level 62, when you get this one says now you get a multiplier of 15%, and when you crit with your cold spells, okay? So basically your Ice Shards because it has vulnerable, so your Ice Shards when it crits have a 15% damage multiplier, and if the target is frozen, that's a 30% multiplier. This is huge. This is going to scale your damage very well. When you reach 62 and you put the last Paragon point here, it's time to clear the next capstone dungeon. 62 enemies are going to be level 70, and when you get to World Tier 4, they are going to be 74. You have the damage to do it. This setup will give you enough damage. By the way, when you put your last point here and switch to Elementalist, you want to run Firebolt Enchantment instead of Ice Shards. You don't want the burst anymore, you want reliable sustained damage, and you want to run Devouring Blaze. This is how you're going to scale your damage. You're gonna get a lot more multipliers that are not relying on an enemy being crowd control, i.e. the boss fights are going to be a lot faster, and even the trash mob fights, you're not gonna bother too much into freezing them to kill them, you know. It's gonna be a lot better, trust me. So you get here, level 62. If you follow what I've been telling you, you would have looted your first Ancestral Nightmare Dungeon key, because you're keeping up with a plus 15 gap between your level and the monster's level. So if you're 62, enemies should be 77, and if you do keys with this gap to 77, you are going to loot ancestral keys, which can only be used in World Tier 4. So only run Sacred until you loot one and you reach here, then clear the Capstone Dungeon. Then once you clear the Capstone Dungeon, enter World Tier 4, you do have the damage. Keep running those keys and you will eventually loot Ancestral Weapon, preferably a two-handed staff. Then you will loot also ancestral jewelry and armor, and imprint over and over the same aspects. Special mention to that power here. It's not an aspect. You don't get it for free. So you have to loot it. That's the only thing you want to put on your boots. Well, if you do want to put some mobility, you can. Get any mobility skill, legendary effect and put it on your boots. But really, the moment you drop this effect, equip it. That's another multiplier. That's the only multiplier you get on a utility slot, i.e. boots. So that's the best in slot. The rest is the same. Disobedience, Piercing Cold, Might, Snow Guard, Elementalist, Efficiency, Prodigy, Storm Swell. You can get all of that for free, except that one. When you get it, equip it. Then you're going to put your next points heading into the Burning Instinct table. You can grab a few of those defensive points if you need, but at this stage, you would have a little bit of defense from chill. You can grab those ones. It's always nice to have. And you will have damage reduction from burning. That rounds up your defenses quite well. And then you're going to want to have Flame Feeder on a 49 dexterity board, because this is going to scale really well with what you're doing. And then here you will want to put the Enchanter, that's going to scale your non-physical damage. Okay, the first 3 glyphs that you level up to 15 is 1 Frostbite, 2 Flame Feeder, 3 Enchanter. Level those 3 to 15, and then when you have this setup complete, you will probably be well into World Tier 4. And you're going to do, you're going to skip the same boards, but you will assign points a little bit different. Let me show you. And finally, the last part of the video is how you're going to assign the last points going to level 100. So the build is clear. This is what you have: items, skills, and then for Paragons, look for this last build in the build planner that you're going to find in the description of that video. Basically, it's the same table, but we do things a little bit differently. Okay, last we were on the Flame Feeder glyph in Burning Instinct. When you level up to 15, optimize the layout to get those 49 dexterity points and scale this damage to 97 while benefiting from the 1.1 multiplier. Same here, this should be level 15, so just grab those points here, here, and scale your damage to 160 and get a little bit of DR once enemies are not frozen anymore. And you get those damage reduction nodes from shield. You remove those nodes here, you don't need them anymore. They were just a mid-game interesting breakpoint. Now you have damage reduction from shield, damage reduction from burning, here damage reduction from shield. You're pretty good to go. The next board you want is Enchantment Master. Why? Because it will give you access to non-physical damage, which is great to use in this new setup of Season 2. Why? Because this legendary node here, Frigid Fate, is getting changed. Now it's going to give you another multiplier. So see, instead of giving you, it used to give you lucky hit chance and barrier. This one was broken, by the way. It was very strong on the defensive side. It used to give you that. And now it's giving you a 30% multiplier and a 30% multiplier. This is to account for the cap of vulnerable and crit damage. They are giving you that. Use it, because crit damage and vulnerable, you are not scaling it that much during leveling. But those multiplier, hell yes, we are going to scale them all the way to 30. And this one double dips. I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so we are here. We are going to grab those non-physical damage node, and they are quite interesting because max health, damage to elite, and intel is nice to have. The next glyph, that's going to be the fourth one that we level, is going to be Elementalist, because it's going to scale the non-physical damage even further. So this is going to bring you to your 30% damage multiplier faster. That's the best in slot, while giving you a little bit of all resist, which is nice to cap out your resistances. Anyway, sorcerers will have an easy time doing that. Okay, so this is what you're doing. Remember, glyph number 1, glyph number 2, glyph number 3 to 15. Rearrange also the slots here, the points, in order to get those 70 intelligence, in order to scale your non-physical damage all the way to 92. Not 92, because this glyph will be 15. And then level up this one to 15. On the way, you grab this, and those are power spikes that you will massively feel as you get your way to 100. The problem in Season 1, when you were leveling a Sorcerer using the Ice Shard build, is the damage will fall off between 80, 90 to 100. Like, you would really feel that it's falling off. Now, with those two buffs, that's a different story. Leveling is going to be a lot better. Sorcerer and Necromancers are the two best classes to level up as fast as possible. I believe Necromancer's damage is falling off in Season 2, the next way that Sorcerer's damage was falling off in Season 1. Will those two legendary nodes save the Sorcerer and make it the number one, like the fastest leveling class? I don't know, but I'm gonna check it out. I recommend you guys do the same. Anyway, so now we're here, and then the last board, the last glyph that we're going to get is from here, Elemental Summoner. We're gonna get to this 54 willpower like board, and we're going to get the Imbiber glyph. 107 additive damage is pretty nice, and a little bit of all resistance. That's pretty good to have. Okay, that's the setup. That's the best setup. Why? Because you're going to reach level 100 before you level up 6 to 7 glyph to level 15. I didn't do the math, but I think only leveling 5 glyphs to 15 is what it will take to take you to 100. Because maybe you will be 100, you'd have 4 glyphs that are level 15, and this one is level, I don't know, 10, 8, something like that. Maybe that's what's gonna happen. So that's why I theory crafted this board to be the most effective possible, and I do believe that this will be the best leveling setup for the entire Season 2, unless Necromancer's damage doesn't fall off, and then Necromancer will be the king. Let's just see. Alright guys, this is Wismeril signing off. It's been a pleasure. I really hope you enjoyed the work I've put up in this leveling guide. I didn't have enough time to edit that video the way I used to do before I got sick. You'll have that quality of videos during the Season 2 when the best builds I'm going to try out, the one that impresses me the most, that's the one that I'm going to cover on the channel, and I will make better edited video. This one is, I'm doing it a little bit in a rush because this week I've been mostly practicing leveling and just like building up that route the best way I can possibly do, and I'm trying to give you that information as fast as possible before season starts. So that's why it is in its current state. Now guys, if you use this guide during season start and you are successful with it, let me know in the comments. I would love to read that. Now, there are two things I need to tell you. Number one, if somehow domain tunnels get nerfed because when they rotate out of the Nightmare Dungeon pool, their density might decrease. I'm going to anyway publish two videos, like the Plan B and Plan C, in case domain tunnels density gets decreased. The next best leveling method is two strongholds. Altar of Ruin, which maybe I didn't post it yet, but there was a video that I posted on the best way to clear this dungeon. No, actually it's not that one, sorry. Two other strongholds that are going to fill the gap when you need to level up from 16 to 40. Anyway, stay tuned on the channel because I'm going to post two separate videos on Plan B and Plan C. Hopefully you don't have to use it, but I fear, and I might be correct, that when this dungeon rotates out, its density is going to decrease, which will tremendously change the amount of experience you're gonna get there. So hit that notification bell in case you want to see it ASAP. I will do my best to publish it before Tuesday night Paris time, because I live in France, when season's gonna start. Okay, next thing, I'm super excited for season 2. The next I'm going to do two build guides once I reach level 100. The first one is going to be the new Uber boss killer using Chain Lightning. It looks to be a super strong build to take down Duriel and to speed farm to try to get to those, you know, Shakos and Uber Unix and stuff. It's gonna be so cool. I'm so excited for season 2. So next build will be that. I reach level 100. I'm going to assemble a build that I theory crafted that's gonna be super strong at single target. So mostly for Uber Duriel and Uber Lilith. And the second build after that, man, it's gonna be a blast. It's a conjuration build, not your typical Hydra build, that burn Hydra that everyone's blathering about. Something different, something super strong, something super synergistic. Okay, but anyway, I will also cover the Hydra burn blah 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 damage build dots that is going to be the best in season 2 blah blah blah. Let's just see. For now, people are just theory crafting here and there. Yes, dots look strong. Let's just see what we get. Anyway, this was Wismeril signing off. I'll see you guys in the next videos. Stay safe. Have a blast.